Taehyung storms out after seeing Jungkook hug Jimin, then Jungkook says, "This!" Taehyung storms out after catching Jungkook hugging Jimin. Then a confession detonates secrets, loyalty, and love in a volatile night of truth tonight. Let go of him. It's not what you think. It never is, until it is. Taehyung's sentences come clipped, like he's measuring them against a rule only he can see. You were wrapped around him like the answer to a question you never asked me. Jimin steps back, palms up. I'll give you space. You already took it, Taehyung says without looking at him. Go! Jimin goes, quiet as the guilt that follows him down the corridor. Jungkook doesn't move. He hates the script he's about to read aloud, hates that it sounds rehearsed because life has forced it to be. Taehyung, Jungkook says. I couldn't breathe. I'm not your oxygen, Taehyung replies. I'm the person you promised to tell the truth to, and I just watched you choose silence wearing another person's name. It was a grounding thing, Jungkook says. Nothing romantic. I asked for it. You asked him, not me. I asked the person closest in reach. You were a storm, Hyung. You were already halfway out of yourself. Don't turn this into my fault. It isn't. It's mine. I panicked. Taehyung stands there with a stare you can't see, but can feel in the way the air tightens around syllables. Why? Because, Jungkook says, and the word hangs, hot and useless. Because I'm going to do something that might break us open. Us as in you and me? Or us as in everything we've built? Both. A thin beat threads between them. The building knows how to hold quiet like a secret. Taehyung hates it. He prefers lists, rehearsals, check marks, full stops. He catalogs endings like some people collect postcards. He catalogs exits like maps. He calculates escape routes even when he plans to stay. He doesn't like surprises because they're doors that open without his hand on the handle. Say it clean, he orders. No soft edges. I'm going public, Jungkook says. About you. About me. About us. Taehyung blinks without blinking. The sentence lands like a signature that can't be erased. You can't decide that alone. I didn't. I spent months deciding I couldn't keep hiding, and then I decided to tell you because you're the only person whose no would stop me. And hugging Jimin was step one in this grand honesty? He was steadying me. That's all. I asked him to. I needed to not fall apart before I told you. You think I want a version of you that never falls apart? I fell for the kid who counted prime numbers under his breath to keep from spinning. Still do, Jungkook admits. 2, 3, 5, 7, I did it today until it felt like chewing glass. You count to survive. I organize to survive. We both learned survival as choreography. Taehyung swallows the rest. His tongue tries to make the word fear sound intelligent, but fear is never that civilized. And you decided to go off script without me. I decided to stop letting other people write the script at all. Other people as in management? Everyone who monetizes our silence, Jungkook says. Everyone who calls it a brand and not a bruise. Everyone who thinks we're a product that performs better when it pretends to be hollow. Taehyung lets the words run. He has a rule, never interrupt a truth that hurts you. It will prove itself without your help. Say the part you're not saying. Jungkook takes a breath he doesn't hide. I'm in love with you. That part doesn't change with a press release. It just stops drowning. Taehyung's body doesn't move in obvious ways. He doesn't give Jungkook the mercy of a visible reaction. He measures names and keeps them on shelves in his mind. And he pulls one down now. Jungkook, the boy who learned endurance before joy. I know, he says. But knowing and trusting are cousins, not twins. Then give me the work, Jungkook says. Give me the midnight shifts and the mornings, after and the arguments with no referee. Give me the way you stack your notebooks by color because you think chaos can be tamed if you can just make it pretty. Don't psychoanalyze me to win. I'm not trying to win. I'm trying to belong. Silence again, this time with edges. Taehyung tastes the old metal of panic at the back of his mouth. The one that reminds him of a waiting room he never left. Of a summer he cut into pieces because it was too long to manage. What are you really afraid of, Jungkook? That I've become a professional liar. That if I don't stop now, I won't know how to tell when I am. That I'll look at you and only see a statement I rehearsed. And I'm afraid, Taehyung says, that love will make me sloppy. That I'll miss a step and the whole stage will blame you for it. That they'll take you from me and call it protection. They can't take me if I name where I stand. They can cut you off, Taehyung warns. From endorsements, from stages, From rooms where your voice matters. My voice matters because of what it says when it costs something. Taehyung wants to argue with the righteousness of it. He wants to be petty, to say, "You could have texted me first. You could have told me you needed arms, and I would have offered mine." He wants to say you made me small. But he also wants to be the person Jungkook trusts with the kind of honesty that doesn't flatter either of them. "The leak last month," Taehyung says instead. "The messages. The half-truths posted at midnight like bait. You think going public will stop that? No. But it turns their weapon into a mirror. If everything true is something we said first, then the liar has nothing but our past to twist. You sound ready to burn the house down. I'm ready to build a door that only opens from inside." Taehyung's mouth twitches around a response he won't give. He remembers the first time Jungkook spoke in absolutes. The day he signed something that came with numbers that didn't look human. He remembers the boy who put his first paycheck in his mother's hands and said it wasn't enough. He remembers the boy who flinched at praise because it felt like debt. He remembers and he wants to protect him from the world and from himself. "Where does Jimin stand in all this?" Taehyung asks at last. "Since his name is now in the sentence you made." "He stands where he always does," Jungkook says. "He told me to talk to you like a man and not a legend. He hugged me because I asked, and because he knows I would do the same. That's it." Taehyung shifts the question. "And where do I stand?" "In the truth, with me. Or not with me, if that's your choice. But I won't hide you anymore. Not from the people who want to love us, not from the parts of ourselves that need the light." "You think light is always kind," Taehyung murmurs. "No," Jungkook says. "I think it's honest." They let the words settle. It isn't a stage, but it is a kind of performance. Two people negotiating the terms of their reality without choreography. They bring their habits to the table because that's what people do, Taehyung. With his controlled diction, Jungkook with his restless counting that he tries to keep inside his mouth. 2, 3, 5. Jungkook whispers, then stops. "I'm sorry. I'm listening." "Don't be sorry for coping," Taehyung says. "Be sorry for not trusting me with it." "I am," Jungkook says. "I was scared you'd see me as weak." "I do," Taehyung replies, and then softens the word without making it an apology. "I see you as human. The problem is, I've trained myself to prefer machines." "You write set lists like scripture," Jungkook says, almost smiling. "You line up pens before you think. You pretend to be stoned so no one can accuse you of bleeding." "Because bleeding is expensive," Taehyung says. "But hiding you is costing us more." Jungkook steps closer with only his voice. "Then choose me in the sunlight. Choose me when the questions come. Choose me when the numbers drop. Choose me when they try to make you a cautionary tale. You want vows. I want decision." Taehyung thinks of the word controversy and how it has always been a stranger's mouth on his life. He thinks of the word control and how it has always been a mirror. "Then here's mine," he says. "I'm not ready to announce anything. I'm not ready to hand them our story like a confession to be dissected for ad revenue. But I am ready to stop lying to the people who actually know us. I'm ready to stop lying to me. So we tell our circle," Jungkook says, relief threading his sentence. "We build a small truth before we give the world a big one. And we make rules," Taehyung adds, because he's himself. "We decide what's ours and what's theirs. We decide how to protect Jimin from fallout. We decide how to fight smart." "I can do smart. You can do brave," Taehyung corrects. "Smart we'll practice together." Jungkook laughs under his breath, a sound that doesn't need description because it lives right there in the words. "I don't deserve you." "No one deserves anyone," Taehyung says. "We choose. We work. We try not to make the same mistakes twice." "And the hugging rule?" Jungkook asks, almost sheepish. Taehyung's mouth curves around something like mercy. "Ask me first. I'm not your oxygen, but I am your person. Let me be used." "I hate that I made you say that." "Me too." Taehyung exhales, then catches the thread he's been avoiding. "There's another thing." "Say it." "Someone inside is leaking. Not wild guesses details. Only we say in rooms that don't have cameras. That means either a hidden ear, or a friend who's turned." "Jimin?" Jungkook asks, even though he doesn't believe it. "No." Taehyung's answer is iron. He's many things, but he isn't that. "I think it's bigger. I think someone's testing us, trying to make one of us break rank and then calling it proof we can't be trusted. So we don't break. We bend," Taehyung says. "Together. Then let me say the part I needed to say even if the world hates it. Jungkook's voice goes calm the way rivers go swift. I love you, and I'm here for the cost. Not as a martyr, as a grown man. If you say not yet to public, I say yes to private, and yes to preparation. I'm not backing off. I'm building toward. Taehyung considers the map in his head. All those exits. He closes a few, leaves some open, because safety isn't an enemy. You'll be tempted to make big gestures to prove you meant this. Don't. Prove it by showing up on the days no one applauds. Prove it by letting me see the messy drafts, not just the final cut. I can do that. And one more thing, Taehyung says, almost shy, which is not a feeling he recognizes easily. When you panic, count out loud. I want to know the numbers you use when you come back to yourself. 2, Jungkook starts, and Taehyung finally nods like a judge pronouncing a verdict only he hears. 3, 5, 7, 9, Taehyung says. 11, Jungkook corrects. See? You're better at this. We are, Jungkook says. They stay there with their decision laid out between them. Not as spectacle, but as a plan. Tell the inner circle first. Tighten the room against leaks. Speak about love like it's not a crime. Refuse to let strangers define an ending they haven't earned. When Jimin peeks back in later, he doesn't get a lecture. He gets a thank you and an apology. And the three of them talk like teammates who decided that winning isn't worth it if they have to lie to look like champions. By the time the night folds into its next version of quiet, Taehyung has already rewritten the rules in his head. Honesty scaled to safety, loyalty scaled to humanity, ambition scaled to care. He doesn't have to be a machine to be excellent. He doesn't have to be a legend to be loved. He doesn't have to police Jungkook into the right shape to call the relationship real. The truth can be measured without turning them into suspects in their own lives. Tomorrow, Taehyung says, we tell the people who matter. We write it down for ourselves so no one else can write it for us. And when we're ready, we tell the world on our terms. Not as scandal, as fact. Jungkook nods where nodding is a word. On our terms. And if the world tries to punish us for being true, Taehyung adds, we'll make a better world inside the one we've got. We'll let the outside be noise, and the inside be music. We'll be deliberate instead of loud. Jimin smiles in a way you can hear. That sounds like a set I'd pay to see. It's not a set, Taehyung says. It's a life. They don't end with a door slamming or a dramatic line meant for headlines. They end with a plan, sturdy and unglamorous, spoken in a tone that doesn't beg for permission. There is no cliff, no hanging. Just 3 people who decided to take their story back from rumor and give it to the only audience that matters first, themselves. Delete that file, the manager says, like an order is a firewall. Or I will. No one deletes anything, Taehyung answers, flat and final. We document, we decide, then we act. Jungkook doesn't flinch from the echo of that tone. You wanted us here, so talk. But don't mistake fear for consent. Jimin scans the table that might as well be a witness stand. Before we start, this is not a confession, it's a conversation. The manager Han laces the silence with an agenda. A rumor is a rumor until it costs money. Then it's a problem. I'm here to solve it. Jungkook leans in with words that don't ask for permission. We're not a problem. We're people. Adjust accordingly. You're brands, Han replies. Brands with contracts. You don't get to adjust reality because your feelings are loud today. Taehyung holds his line. We set boundaries before we set strategies. First boundary. Stop calling our lives brand risk. Second, we're not apologizing for being close, for being human, or for making choices in private. Third, Jimin adds, no one lies on our behalf. Not to the press, not to the team. If there's a statement, it tells the truth we're ready to own. Not a fairy tale that buys you a quarter. Han exhales like she's measuring patience against payroll. Here's my truth. Someone is leaking. Screenshots, half context, DMs that read like scandal because fans love to read and fire. You 3 are being shaped into a triangle no one can win. We need a counter-narrative. Or we need integrity, Jungkook says. We set a small truth, like we agreed. We tell the people who matter. We stop acting like a rumor is a god we owe tribute to. Han taps the folder in front of her. You want integrity? Sign this. It's a professional relationship addendum. It commits to a single message. We're brothers, we're focused on the music, and we don't feed gossip. Brothers? Taehyung repeats. Is your vocabulary that limited? Or your courage? The word tests well, Han says. The public devours wholesome and spits out real, Jimin murmurs. Han pivots. We can also consider a decoy, a friendly dating rumor. Nothing heavy, enough to redirect the heat. Jungkook stares at the suggestion like it's a trap carrying its own label. I was offered that yesterday by a brand. They wanted a pretend girlfriend for 3 months to stabilize sentiment. I turned it down in 8 seconds. Why wasn't I told? Han snaps. Because you'd say yes in 7. Jungkook fires back. And then I'd be wearing a lie like a tuxedo. Taehyung anchors the conversation. No decoys, no addendum with fairy tale language, and no more meetings where the rules are pre-written by people who don't pay the costs. He opens his own folder, neat, dense, prepared. Here's ours. It's not a press release. It's a plan. Han glances at the pages. You made a plan without me. We made a plan for us, Taehyung says. Step 1. We tell the inner circle tonight. Step 2. We audit devices and rooms for bugs. Step 3. We seed trackable phrases to identify the leak. What phrases? Han asks before she remembers she shouldn't. Jimin smiles with a sweetness that hides iron. Not telling. That's the point. Han shifts to offense. You 3 think you can outmaneuver a system built before you were born? We think we can outmaneuver laziness, Jungkook says. Half these leaks come from people who assume we won't fight back. Surprise! Han tilts the folder closed. Fight if you want. The public is a tide, not an opponent. It will rise. It will fall. Your job is to surf it without drowning. Then stop throwing us anchors, Taehyung says. We're finished here, Han decides, standing without a scrape or apology. If you go rogue, your contracts will scream. Don't make me be the translator. She exits, taking the company with her. The door clicks. Air returns like it was waiting for permission. Jimin breaks the new quiet first. I got a lawyer. Not the company's. Mine. You did? Jungkook asks, half relieved, half impressed. Yoongi, Jimin says. She's young enough to be hungry, old enough to be unscared. She owes my cousin a favor. She's ready to review everything, including what happens if we go public or if the company tries to gag us. Taehyung nods because competence is a love language he recognizes. Good. I have a tech guy ready to sweep the rooms. Private, discreet, paid in cash. Jungkook taps the back of his phone like he's knocking on a door he intends to open. I also recorded that brand call. If someone tries to frame a decoy as our idea, we have proof it came from outside. Send it to me and to Yoongi, Jimin says. 2 copies in 2 places. Jungkook forwards the file. A ping confirms receipt. Nothing dramatic, just a small, satisfying noise that means the story is now documented in more than memory. Taehyung lays out their internal math. I want to be clear about something. I wrote an exit clause last year, a personal one. If this machine started eating us alive, I planned to walk, and to do it in a way that gave you cover to stay or go. Jungkook goes very still without freezing. You were going to leave me to save me. I was going to leave a system, Taehyung corrects. Not you, but you are within it. And I hated that math so much I kept it in a drawer and prayed I'd never use it. I'm not angry you planned, Jungkook says. I'm angry you thought you had to do it alone. Jimin decodes the hurt in the room. We all make private plans when we don't trust the collective to hold them. It's survival. It's also lonely. Taehyung owns it. Yes, I am trying to unlearn solitude disguised as responsibility. Same, Jungkook says. I hide panic behind usefulness. You hide fear behind structure. Jimin hides worry behind jokes, then goes home and reads law blogs until 2 a.m. That specific? Jimin asks, surprised into a small laugh. Okay, fair. Jungkook's voice finds a new gear. We agreed. Inner circle tonight. Where? Not here, Taehyung says. Not the company building. Not anyone's apartment. Too many eyes that think they deserve to watch. Jimin proposes a solution. My cousin's studio. No contract with the label. No cameras beyond the ones we turn on. We can sweep it before and after. Done, Taehyung says. I'll handle logistics. Jimin, confirm the space. Jungkook, write what you want to say in plain language. No slogans, no rehearsed lines. If you can't say it to them, you can't say it to the world. Jungkook nods. I'll write it, and I'll count if I need to. Count out loud, Taehyung says. Let me hear how you come back to yourself. 2, 3, 5. Jungkook murmurs, practicing truth like a muscle. 11. Taehyung reminds. Automatic. Jimin pockets his phone. Before we go, the leak. I don't think it's a random staffer. Some of the phrasing is too specific. Inside jokes, code names we used once in a room with 5 people. We bend, Taehyung says. Together. Then let me say the part I needed to say even if the world hates it. Jungkook's voice goes calm the way rivers go swift. I love you, and I'm here for the cost. Not as a martyr, as a grown man. If you say not yet to public, I say yes to private, and yes to preparation. I'm not backing off. I'm building toward. Taehyung considers the map in his head. All those exits. He closes a few, leaves some open, because safety isn't an enemy. You'll be tempted to make big gestures to prove you meant this. Don't. Prove it by showing up on the days no one applauds. Prove it by letting me see the messy drafts, not just the final cut. I can do that. And one more thing, Taehyung says, almost shy, which is not a feeling he recognizes easily. When you panic, count out loud. I want to know the numbers you use when you come back to yourself. 2. Jungkook starts, and Taehyung finally nods like a judge pronouncing a verdict only he hears. 3, 5, 7, 9, Taehyung says. 11, Jungkook corrects. See? You're better at this. We are, Jungkook says. They stay there with their decision laid out between them. Not as spectacle, but as a plan. Tell the inner circle first. Tighten the room against leaks. Speak about love like it's not a crime. Refuse to let strangers define an ending they haven't earned. When Jimin peeks back in later, he doesn't get a lecture. He gets a thank you and an apology. And the 3 of them talk like teammates who decided that winning isn't worth it if they have to lie to look like champions. By the time the night folds into its next version of quiet, Taehyung has already rewritten the rules in his head. Honesty scaled to safety, loyalty scaled to humanity, ambition scaled to care. He doesn't have to be a machine to be excellent. He doesn't have to be a legend to be loved. He doesn't have to police Jungkook into the right shape to call the relationship real. The truth can be measured without turning them into suspects in their own lives. Tomorrow, Taehyung says, we tell the people who matter. We write it down for ourselves so no one else can write it for us. And when we're ready, we tell the world on our terms. Not as scandal, as fact. Jungkook nods where nodding is a word. On our terms. And if the world tries to punish us for being true, Taehyung adds, we'll make a better world inside the one we've got. We'll let the outside be noise, and the inside be music. We'll be deliberate instead of loud. Jimin smiles in a way you can hear. That sounds like a set I'd pay to see. It's not a set, Taehyung says. It's a life. They don't end with a door slamming or a dramatic line meant for headlines. They end with a plan, sturdy and unglamorous, spoken in a tone that doesn't beg for permission. There is no cliff, no hanging. Just 3 people who decided to take their story back from rumor and give it to the only audience that matters first, themselves. Delete that file, the manager says, like an order is a firewall. Or I will. No one deletes anything, Taehyung answers, flat and final. We document, we decide, then we act. Jungkook doesn't flinch from the echo of that tone. You wanted us here, so talk. But don't mistake fear for consent. Jimin scans the table that might as well be a witness stand. Before we start, this is not a confession. It's a conversation. The manager Han laces the silence with an agenda. A rumor is a rumor until it costs money. Then it's a problem. I'm here to solve it. Jungkook leans in with words that don't ask for permission. We're not a problem. We're people. Adjust accordingly. You're brands, Han replies. Brands with contracts. You don't get to adjust reality because your feelings are loud today. Taehyung holds his line. We set boundaries before we set strategies. First boundary. Stop calling our lives brand risk. Second, we're not apologizing for being close, for being human, or for making choices in private. Third, Jimin adds, no one lies on our behalf. Not to the press, not to the team. If there's a statement, it tells the truth we're ready to own. Not a fairy tale that buys you a quarter. Han exhales like she's measuring patience against payroll. Here's my truth. Someone is leaking. Screenshots, half context, DMs that read like scandal because fans love to read and fire. You 3 are being shaped into a triangle no one can win. We need a counter-narrative. Or we need integrity, Jungkook says. We said a small truth, like we agreed. We tell the people who matter. We stop acting like a rumor is a god we owe tribute to. Han taps the folder in front of her. You want integrity? Sign this. It's a professional relationship addendum. It commits to a single message. We're brothers, we're focused on the music, and we don't feed gossip. Brothers? Taehyung repeats. Is your vocabulary that limited? Or your courage? The word tests well, Han says. The public devours wholesome. And spits out real, Jimin murmurs. Han pivots. We can also consider a decoy, a friendly dating rumor. Nothing heavy, enough to redirect the heat. Jungkook stares at the suggestion like it's a trap carrying its own label. I was offered that yesterday by a brand. They wanted a pretend girlfriend for 3 months to stabilize sentiment. I turned it down in 8 seconds. Why wasn't I told? Han snaps. Because you'd say yes in 7. Jungkook fires back. And then I'd be wearing a lie like a tuxedo. Taehyung anchors the conversation. No decoys, no addendum with fairy tale language, and no more meetings where the rules are pre-written by people who don't pay the costs. He opens his own folder, neat, dense, prepared. Here's ours. It's not a press release. It's a plan. Han glances at the pages. You made a plan without me. We made a plan for us, Taehyung says. Step 1. We tell the inner circle tonight. Step 2. We audit devices and rooms for bugs. Step 3. We seed trackable phrases to identify the leak. What phrases? Han asks before she remembers she shouldn't. Jimin smiles with a sweetness that hides iron. Not telling. That's the point. Han shifts to offense. You 3 think you can outmaneuver a system built before you were born? We think we can outmaneuver laziness, Jungkook says. Half these leaks come from people who assume we won't fight back. Surprise! Han tilts the folder closed. Fight if you want. The public is a tide, not an opponent. It will rise. It will fall. Your job is to surf it without drowning. Then stop throwing us anchors, Taehyung says. We're finished here, Han decides, standing without a scrape or apology. If you go rogue, your contracts will scream. Don't make me be the translator. She exits, taking the company with her. The door clicks. Air returns like it was waiting for permission. Jimin breaks the new quiet first. I got a lawyer. Not the company's. Mine. You did? Jungkook asks. Half relieved, half impressed. Yoongi, Jimin says. She's young enough to be hungry, old enough to be unscared. She owes my cousin a favor. She's ready to review everything, including what happens if we go public or if the company tries to gag us. Taehyung nods because competence is a love language he recognizes. Good. I have a tech guy ready to sweep the rooms. Private, discreet, paid in cash. Jungkook taps the back of his phone like he's knocking on a door he intends to open. I also recorded that brand call. If someone tries to frame a decoy as our idea, we have proof it came from outside. Send it to me and to Yoongi, Jimin says. 2 copies in 2 places. Jungkook forwards the file. A ping confirms receipt. Nothing dramatic, just a small, satisfying noise that means the story is now documented in more than memory. Taehyung lays out their internal math. I want to be clear about something. I wrote an exit clause last year, a personal one. If this machine started eating us alive, I planned to walk, and to do it in a way that gave you cover to stay or go. Jungkook goes very still without freezing. You were going to leave me to save me. I was going to leave a system, Taehyung corrects. Not you, but you are within it. And I hated that math so much I kept it in a drawer and prayed I'd never use it. I'm not angry you planned, Jungkook says. I'm angry you thought you had to do it alone. Jimin decodes the hurt in the room. We all make private plans when we don't trust the collective to hold them. It's survival. It's also lonely. Taehyung owns it. Yes, I am trying to unlearn solitude disguised as responsibility. Same, Jungkook says. I hide panic behind usefulness. You hide fear behind structure. Jimin hides worry behind jokes, then goes home and reads law blogs until 2 a.m. That specific? Jimin asks, surprised into a small laugh. Okay, fair. Jungkook's voice finds a new gear. We agreed. Inner circle tonight. Where? Not here, Taehyung says. Not the company building. Not anyone's apartment. Too many eyes that think they deserve to watch. Jimin proposes a solution. My cousin's studio. No contract with the label, no cameras beyond the ones we turn on. We can sweep it before and after. Done, Taehyung says. I'll handle logistics. Jimin, confirm the space. Jungkook, write what you want to say in plain language. No slogans, no rehearsed lines. If you can't say it to them, you can't say it to the world. Jungkook nods. I'll write it, and I'll count if I need to. Count out loud, Taehyung says. Let me hear how you come back to yourself. 2, 3, 5, Jungkook murmurs, practicing truth like a muscle. 11, Taehyung reminds. Automatic. Jimin pockets his phone. Before we go, the leak. I don't think it's a random staffer. Some of the phrasing is too specific. Inside jokes, code names we used once in a room with 5 people. Who were the 5? Taehyung asks. Us 3. Han and Min, Jimin says. Audio engineer. Contract, not staff. Min wouldn't, Jungkook says immediately, and then his certainty softens. Unless someone paid him, or scared him, or unless he thinks he's saving us from ourselves, Taehyung adds. People excuse cruelty if they name it concern. So we seed the phrases, Jimin says, already pulling up a chat. New ones, unique to each suspect. The ones we give Han will include blue elevator. The ones we give Min will include left-handed screwdriver. The ones we keep to ourselves include paper tiger. Then we sit back and wait. Jungkook grins without showing it. I love a science experiment. It's a trap, Taehyung says. Then let's be bait with teeth, Jimin replies. They break to move. Texts go out not as cries for help, but as invitations that sound like routine. Meet at 7? Taehyung writes to the others. No details beyond the time and the promise of food. Anyone monitoring their phones will see a schedule, not a conspiracy. On the ride over, Jungkook types and deletes a dozen starts. Jimin watches him not to monitor, but to witness. Taehyung gives him the sentence that finally lands. Start with what cost you. People trust cost. Jungkook writes, I started thinking of myself as a product, and then I didn't know how to be a person with you. I'm undoing that. It's clean, Jimin says. Keep going. He does. I want to love without press releases telling me if it's allowed. I want to stop flinching at my own happiness. I'm not asking you to carry it. I'm asking you to see it, and not ask me to unsee it. Jimin sends it to his own brain's vault. Good. Now add the part where we don't blame them for being themselves. Jungkook adds, you don't have to agree. You don't have to approve. You just don't get to dictate. We'll protect each other and we'll protect you. Both can be true. Taehyung reads and nods. That's a thesis, not a plea. They reach the studio. Jimin's cousin meets them with a key and a promise to disappear. The sweep is quick and methodical. The tech guy Taehyung hired does his work with quiet competence and, after 15 minutes, gives a verdict. Clean. For now. For now is all we need, Taehyung says. The others arrive like chapters, each with their own weather, each with their own love. There's surprise, confusion, a dose of worry, a stubborn desire to keep the machine running. But there's also what they need, a listening posture that doesn't turn into a debate club. Jungkook reads what he wrote. No theatrics, no dramatics, just sentences that cost him to say, and so buy him credibility. He tells them he's serious, he's calm, he's ready for the work. He tells them he isn't asking them to join a fight, he's inviting them to let him stop fighting himself. Questions follow, some practical, some defensive, some tender. What about tours? What about brands? What about fans who feel betrayed? What about safety? What about the long game? Taehyung takes the operational ones. We prepare a queue. We don't publish, so we have answers ready without sounding like we rehearsed a lie. We set boundaries about what's ours. We accept some loss. We refuse to catastrophize. We build a plan that is boring and therefore strong. Jimin takes the emotional ones. We won't weaponize you against each other. We won't ask you to lie. We won't drag you into statements you don't believe. But we will need your defense when the room gets loud. One of them says what others only thought. I'm scared for you. Jungkook nods like agreement is a relief. Me too. But fear is not a strategy. It's a feeling we pass through on the way to choice. The meeting ends not with a vote, but with an understanding. They don't hug it out. They don't promise what they can't give. They do what adults do when a family changes shape. They name it, they mourn the old shape, they try to let the new one be itself without pretending it's a natural disaster. After the others leave, the three sit in the quiet they earned. Jimin checks his phone. Han replied to my decoy text. She used blue elevator in the reply. It took her 22 minutes. Fast, Jungkook mutters. Too fast. Min? Taehyung asks. Nothing yet, Jimin says. We watch, Taehyung concludes. We document. We don't accuse till we can prove. We also don't share anything real through those channels again. My chest feels lighter and heavier at the same time, Jungkook says. Is that a thing? It's a new kind of weight, Jimin says. Worth carrying. Distributed properly. Jungkook starts to count, then stops. I have another thing. He looks at Taehyung. If the company tries to split us, keep Taehyung quiet, or we shelve your solo, what do? We accept that leverage exists, Taehyung says. We also accept that we're not helpless. I can say no to a shelf. You can say no to a bribe packaged as opportunity. We can say yes to smaller stages with bigger honesty. Money is not oxygen, neither is applause. Jimin adds a practical gift. Eunju says if they retaliate for legal protected speech, we have a case. It won't be simple, but it's real. I don't want to spend a year of my life in court, Jungkook admits. Then let's spend a year of our life being so consistent they'd be idiots to pick that fight, Taehyung says. Jungkook nods. Consistency. I can do that. Practice right now, Jimin says. Say the same sentence 5 ways and mean it. Jungkook tries. I love him and I'm not ashamed. He breathes. I love him and I'm not hiding. Again. I love him and I won't trade that for a contract. Again. I love him and I'm not asking permission. Again. I love him and I'm choosing the consequences. Taehyung listens like listening is an act, not a pause. And I love you and I am learning. I love you and I am scared. I love you and I won't let fear pretend it's wisdom. I love you and I'll protect you without turning you into a secret. I love you and I'll fix my reflex to run the whole world from a spreadsheet. Jimin raises an invisible glass. To grown-ups. They laugh. A quiet, shared vent for all the pressure that hasn't crushed them yet. The phones buzz again. This time, it's Min. A harmless meme, tagged with a line, left-handed screwdriver lol, who comes up with this stuff. The bait took. Not conclusive, but suggestive. 2 fish, Jimin says. 1 pond. Taehyung files it in the drawer of his mind that says evidence. We keep going. We don't threaten. If we catch them, we don't scorch the earth. We set boundaries, and we move on. I want revenge, Jungkook confesses. You want relief, Taehyung corrects gently. Revenge pretends to be a cure. Relief is a plan executed well. I hate it when you're right, Jungkook says. You love it when I'm right, Taehyung counters. And the truth of it eases something that's been clenched all day. They pack up slowly because there's nothing to rush anymore. The next steps are written, not as prophecy, but as intention. Tell the ones who matter. Test the leak. Build a boring fortress around a blazing truth. Refuse decoys. Refuse shame. Accept loss. Choose each other. On the way out, Jungkook stops, the door half open. One more, he says, not to stall, but to anchor. If tomorrow is chaos, and the day after is worse, and a week from now someone we trusted says we ruined everything, what do? Taehyung answers like he's been rehearsing it for months. We meet, we talk, we don't decide alone. We let the hardest days be the days we're most together. We write the list, we cut it in half, we do the top 3, then we rest. Jimin adds the final stitch. And we send each other proof of life, even if it's just a dot. A dot, Jungkook repeats, and smiles at the economy of it. I can do dots. They walk into the night that's just a night, despite what the internet will make of it. There are no paparazzi in the bushes of this story, no flashbulbs turning them into prey, no soundtrack manipulating tears. There are phones and choices and a plan that values consistency over drama. There are 3 people who got tired of being spoken for and started speaking, first to each other, then to the few who could hold it. When Jungkook gets home, he sends a dot. Taehyung replies with 11. Jimin sends a screenshot Eunji's calendar invite for a review session titled, Boundaries, Not Excuses. It's mundane. It's revolutionary. It's how you build a life instead of a headline. The morning will do what mornings do, arrive indifferent, demand coffee, deliver notifications. The company will do what companies do, calculate, negotiate, protect their balance sheets. The fans will do what fans do. Love, argue, project, create. But here, in the place that matters, a different economy is in effect. Honesty accrues interest. Loyalty compounds. Courage pays out in peace over time. 2. Jungkook texts again, unprompted. 3. Taehyung sends back. 5. Jimin adds, because belonging is allowed to be nerdy. Always 11, Taehyung finishes. No. Jungkook corrects with a grin you can hear. Sometimes 13. Fine, Taehyung replies. Sometimes 13. They leave it there. Not because the story is done, but because tonight's chapter is. No cliff, no crash. Just a door that opens from the inside, and 3 people who finally remember where the handle is. Why is Blue Elevator trending with our names? Because someone took the bait, Jimin says. Phone in his palm like a detonator he refuses to throw. And then they fed it to an account that smells like PR wearing a fan mask. Hun, Jungkook says. Or Min. Or both. Stop guessing. Taehyung cuts in. Start proving. Proof just walked into the room. A voice answers from the doorway. Han, no appointment, no apology. You seeded nonsense to test me. Cute. Amateur. Also dangerous. Dangerous is you calling our lives a product line. Jungkook fires back. But go ahead. Lecture us about risk. Han folds the moment into policy. You want to be adults? Then sign the adult papers. A mutual non-disparagement addendum, a content review clause, and a moral stipulation. You do that, I make the leak problem disappear. Translation, Taehyung says. You want the right to edit our mouths and punish our hearts. I want predictability, Han replies. Predictability sells. Chaos sells too. But it breaks people. And you've both been breakable lately. Jimin steps between ideology and insult. Who used Blue Elevator? Han doesn't blink. I did. To see if you were watching me instead of watching the real enemy. Which is who? Jungkook snaps. Anyone who profits when you burn, Han says. Including people in this company. Including people outside of it. Including you, if you keep milking outrage. We're not milking anything, Taehyung says. We're building a boundary. Good, Han replies. Then build this one too. Stop testing me like a thief. You could have asked. You could have said, are you with us? Are you? Jimin asks. Han meets the question head on. I'm with the version of you that survives. That might not be the same as the version that gets everything it wants. Survival isn't a brand, Jungkook says. It's a life. You don't get to curate it. Han places a folder on the table. Min's contract. You wanted proof? He's behind on payments. He's been quietly asking for advances. The gossip account that posted left-handed screwdriver follows one person in this building. Min. Jungkook swallows the impulse to soften. You threw him under a bus quick. I threw him a map first, Han answers. He refused it. He took money from a third-party agency with a habit of manufacturing scandals. They wanted a breadcrumb trail, not a nuclear bomb. So far. Why tell us and not fire him? Taehyung asks. Because firing him turns him into a martyr who sells his full folder for rent, Han says. Sitting him down with a lawyer and a contract that promises help if he stops? That's less cinematic. It's also effective. Jimin clocks the angle. You're telling us to practice harm reduction. I'm telling you to choose outcomes over headlines, Han says. You want to confront him? Do it now. He's in Studio C. We'll talk to him, Taehyung says, already moving. No cameras, no threats. Just consequences and choices. Han nods once. You have 20 minutes before legal hears he's in the building. After that, I can't keep them out. Why are you helping? Jungkook asks. Han exhales like she's tired of being mistaken for a villain who doesn't know she's one. Because if you implode here, a dozen kids watch and learn the wrong lesson. Go. They go. Studio C is quiet in the way rooms are when they're told to behave. Min sits at the console like it still loves him. He doesn't look surprised to see them. He looks prepared, which is a different kind of confession. Left-handed screwdriver, Jimin says. Simple as a name. Min's laugh is short and brittle. You got creative. Tell us the terms, Taehyung says. Don't pretty them up. Min taps the desk. Once. 15 grand per drop. Nothing verifiable, just texture. Phrases that make fans think they're overhearing a fight. Names of places, timing, no pictures, nothing about family. I refused anything that would hit parents or siblings. I had lines. You had a price, Jungkook says. I had a mother in a bad clinic and a landlord who stopped pretending to be patient, Min replies. I also had a manager who paid late and a company that treats contractors like furniture. Jimin's voice doesn't scold. It doesn't hug. It just lands. We can help your mother without selling our peace. I didn't sell peace, Min says, defensive, turning to sorrow mid-sentence. I sold rumor. I told myself it was harmless because it was already half believed. You told yourself you weren't breaking anything, Taehyung says. But you were testing the floor. How far before it gives? Min's words shrink. I know, he swallows. I hate me for it. Save self-hate for therapy, Jungkook says. We're here for choices. You're going to stop now. You're going to sign an affidavit admitting you leaked contextual bait, not confidential audio. You're going to name the agency. We're going to get your mother into a better clinic, and you're going to pay us back at a rate that doesn't drown you. If you start again, we go public with the truth, and you lose everything. Min looks at him like he expected cruelty and got structure instead. Why help me? Because revenge is a sugar high, Taehyung says. Relief is boring and sustainable. Min nods, slow, like his neck forgot how. I'll sign. Good, Jimin says. There's another condition. You record a message to the agency saying you're out. We send it from a number they can't ignore. You're painting a target on me, Min whispers. We're painting a boundary, Taehyung corrects, and we'll stand in front of it if they aim. Min's shoulders drop a degree. I'll do it. They move quickly because they have to. Jimin calls Yoongi. She says she'll draft. Han appears at the door without entering, like gravity checked and approved. Legal's in the building. You have 5 minutes. Buy us 10, Taehyung says. You think I print time? Han replies. I think you bend it more often than you admit, Taehyung says. Han mutters something into her phone. The corridor outside slows. 10 minutes appears where 5 lived a second ago. It's not magic. It's power used on purpose. Eunji's draft arrives. Mine reads, breathes, signs. Jimin records the breakup message to the agency. Min's voice clear, the words precise. I'm out. Any future contact will be reported. Do not reach me again. He sends it to a number Han provides without explaining how she has it. Now you owe me, Han says to no one in particular. We owe you the same thing we owe each other, Taehyung answers. Consistency. Legal arrives right on time with smiles that read like threats. Han stands between them and the room and says a sentence that buys another hour. Meeting moved to 2. Compliance wants 10 minutes with me. Doors close. Shoes turn. This is how wars are won, small, unfamous interferences. When the dust settles, Jungkook turns to Han. You used blue elevator for us. Why? Han doesn't lie. Because I needed you to test me in a way I could see. You keep acting like I only know numbers. I know people. I knew you were watching. I wanted you to know I know. Jimin half laughs. That's twisted. It's trust. Just uglier, Han says. I'm not your enemy. I am not your friend either. I am the woman who knows what the building will do before the building decides to do it. Use that. Then listen in return, Taehyung says. We're telling the truth to our people. We're cleaning our side of the street. When we go public? When? Not if we do it without a PR scavenger hunt. We'll write the statement. We'll pick the time. We'll choose the outlet. And the first line will cost something. Han nods once. Write it now and lock it. Not to send, to center yourselves. And if you're going to bleed, bleed on your terms. We're not bleeding for sport, Jungkook says. Good, Han replies. Sports are seasonal. You need a life. Han leaves before gratitude can make this weird. Eunji arrives like a clean blade. She takes notes without drama. She lays out scenarios with labels that don't panic. Retaliation A, B, C. Response 1, 2, 3. Evidence. Silence. Escalation only if needed. She's calm enough to be believed. Now, Yoongi says, pencil tapping once. The deepfake. You've seen it. What deepfake? Jungkook's stomach flips a learned response to the word fake attached to his name. An audio clip hit a private Discord last night, Yoongi says. It sounds like you calling fans parasites. It's stitched from old interviews. It's not public yet, but it will be when someone decides the timing is profitable. Show me, Jungkook says. Yoongi plays 20 seconds that have the architecture of his vowels and none of his soul. He hears himself saying things he never said, and he feels the familiar heat of helpless anger. I want to smash something, he says. Then write instead. Taehyung answers. Write what you would say if it drops. Jungkook's thumbs fly. I won't be silent while a machine wears my name. I respect the people who gave me stages. I fight the system that sells my silence. Don't let them trick you into thinking those are the same thing. Good, Yoongi says. Short, sharp, shareable. We'll verify the fake before we call it out. We won't swing and miss, Jimin adds the soft part. And we'll thank the people who wait to hear from us before they react. Reward patience. Yoongi closes her notebook. Now the public plan. You want to go big or go small first? Small, Taehyung says. An essay. Our site. Our words. Then a live Q. A with pre-screened questions. Then silence. Not a media tour. Not a circus. A statement and a space to absorb it. Essay signed by? Yoongi asks. By me, Jungkook says. And by me, Taehyung adds a beat later. Jimin doesn't hesitate. And a note from me, separate. Not as a triangle. As a witness and a friend who won't be weaponized. Yoonji's eyes flick to each of them. Approval unspoken but present. Good. I'll draft legal framing for the site. You write the human part. 2 days. Not 2 days, Jungkook says. Tonight. You don't have to rush to be brave, Yoongi counters. It's not rush. It's momentum, Taehyung says. Fear fills empty schedules. Yoongi nods. Then tonight, I'll be on call. Don't send without me. They break, but not apart. The writing starts in a shared doc with a name that means nothing to anyone who isn't them. Jungkook types first. I have learned how to tell the truth even when it makes people nervous. I am telling one now. I love someone in this team. That love makes me better. That love doesn't make me a liar or a threat. If you love our music, you've been loving this truth for a long time without a label on it. Taehyung reads, breathes, adds. I have trained myself to be unbreakable. That training made me excellent at some things and terrible at others. I am practicing a different kind of strength now, letting people see me as a person who chooses, not a statue that performs. I love him. I'll protect that love without turning it into a spectacle. Jimin writes his note in a new paragraph. I am not a referee and I'm not an alibi. I'm a friend who stands in the room when it's loud and stays when it's quiet. If you're going to assign roles, give me witness and teammate. I won't be borrowed for anyone's narrative but ours. They keep going because the page invites them to, and because silence is a liar that fills in blanks with fear. Halfway through, a notification slashes across the top of the screen. The deepfake drops. A hashtag blooms like mold. Jungkook's phone shakes with the weight of it. He doesn't panic. He counts out loud, like Taehyung asked. 2, 3, 5, 7. Taehyung matches him. 11. 13, Jimin adds. For luck. Yoonji's message lands with surgical precision. We're pushing verification. Wait for my go. Waiting is a muscle they're building in real time. 10-minute stretch. Then, go. Jungkook posts his line. Taehyung posts his. Jimin posts proof of the splice with time codes and a link to an expert's thread. Han posts a corporate statement that doesn't sound like it was written by a committee. We stand with the truth. We won't amplify fakes. If you shared it, consider deleting. If you're angry, be angry at the people who make money from lies, not at the people they target. The tide shifts. Not completely, not universally. Enough. Jungkook doesn't check metrics. He checks the doc. He adds a paragraph about fans who stayed up nights defending him when he didn't deserve it, and calls them by the name he calls them in his head, the one that isn't merchandised. It reads like gratitude and lands like peace. Messages ping from the inner circle. Some say I'm proud. Some say I'm scared, but I'm with you. One says what they needed most. We'll take the loss with you. We'll build different. Then the phone that hasn't rung in a year lights up. Jungkook's father. The name freezes his spine and unfreezes something else. Answer it. Taehyung says. No hesitation. Jungkook does. Appa. A long inhale. A longer exhale. Is this true? His father asks. Yes, Jungkook says. It's been true for a long time. Silence. That could mean 100 endings. Then, come to dinner. Bring him. Jimin too if he wants. Your mother will burn the stew if you make her wait. Jungkook chokes on relief without making a sound. We'll come. He hangs up. He doesn't collapse. He doesn't grandstand. He looks at Taehyung and Jimin and says the sentence he used to keep as a wish. My father said come to dinner. Jimin grins with his whole being without needing to perform it. I accept any invitation that ends in stew. Taehyung's answer is quieter, stronger. We'll go. We'll be ordinary for an hour. We'll let ordinary be a revolution. Han texts a warning that reads like counsel, not control. Legal will call in 5. They're going to ask you to slow down. Listen, don't agree. Say you'll consider. Then do what you already decided. Why are you like this today? Jimin replies before thinking. Han. Because I watched kids break and I'm tired. Because I like my job better when the people in the songs are still human. Because there's a version of me that could have become a leak too, and I don't want to meet her. Noted, Taehyung writes back. Don't make us regret trusting you. Don't make me regret betting on you. Han returns. Legal calls. They speak in clauses and caution. Yoonji pushes back with case law like a shield. The call ends without blood. The dock grows. The essay becomes a letter. The letter becomes a choice. The choice becomes a weight they can carry because they set it down between 3 sets of hands. Night turns into the kind of quiet that tells the truth. Jimin packages the letter for the site. Eunji adds the legal frame. Taehyung adds a final line that feels like a promise to himself more than the world. We will not trade real for safe. Jungkook signs with his name the way he'd sign a wall he finally owns. Ready? He asks. Ready, Taehyung says. Ready, Jimin echoes. They hit publish. Not with fanfare, not with a countdown, with a click that sounds like a door unlocked from the inside. The internet does what it does, explodes and quiets and argues and forgives and forgets and holds on. Brands do what they do, pause and calculate. Friends do what they do, call and show up. Family does what family does when it's good, opens the door and says, eat first, talk later. At dinner, Jungkook's mother ladles stew like it's a blessing. His father asks questions like he wants to understand and not like he's building a case. Jimin tells a story that makes everyone laugh without making anyone the butt of it. Taehyung doesn't perform. He answers when asked. He says thank you and means it. After, Jungkook and his father stand by the sink like men who grew up in the same house at different times. I don't know how to be perfect at this, his father says, but I can be better than yesterday. That's enough, Jungkook says. On the way back, the group chat hums with the kind of messages that build a future. I'm here. Need anything? Sleep. Proud. The deepfake fizzles. The essay trends. The world's noise doesn't vanish, but it changes pitch. Back in the studio, Han forwards a screenshot with a single line from the agency that paid Min. We will no longer be in contact. Under it, another from legal. Compliance review closed. Under that, Min's message. My mother's new clinic smells like lemon instead of bleach. Thank you. I'll pay you back. I will. Jungkook sends a dot. Taehyung replies with 11. Jimin adds 13. Yoonji, who has been all sharp edges and competence, sends eat, sleep, repeat. Taehyung opens a blank page and writes 3 columns. Costs, risks, wins. Under costs, some gigs, some fans, some illusions. Under risks, retaliation, fatigue, misunderstanding. Under wins, our names in our own mouths, our future unpawned. Peace that doesn't ask permission. Jungkook leans in to read. Add one more. Taehyung waits. Love without a disguise, Jungkook says. Taehyung writes it. He doesn't underline it. He doesn't need to. It's already bold. They end the night not with a bang, not with a tease for the next catastrophe, but with the same ordinary ritual that kept them alive even when they were pretending to be gods. They put their phones face down. They say goodnight like it's a spell. They promise breakfast instead of promises they can't keep. 2. Jungkook texts as the lights go out. 3. Taehyung answers. 5. Jimin sends. And then, after a beat that feels like a bow, sleep. Pull the festival slot or sign the morals clause. You have 10 minutes. That's not a choice, Taehyung says. That's a muzzle dressed as logistics. It's a contract. The promoter replies over speakerphone. Family. Friendly means no controversies. Family? Friendly means honest adults. Jungkook shoots back. We didn't swear on stage. We wrote an essay. You declared a relationship, the promoter says, as if reading a diagnosis. Half our sponsors are faith-based. They're threatening to pull. Then they can pull, Jimin says. Find sponsors who believe in music more than narratives. Easy for you to say, the promoter sneers. You're not the one buying insurance. Yoongi cuts in from the end of the table. We'll release your team from the exclusivity clause. Terminate without penalty. We'll take the hit. Send the paperwork in writing. Now, silence on the line. The promoter recalibrates. Fine, you won't be invited back. Then make the next invitation better, Taehyung says, and ends the call. Jungkook turns to the room. We just lost the biggest slot of the summer. We lost a stage that asked us to be small, Jimin counters. We'll build one that fits. Han looks up from her phone. You did the right thing. Also, prepare for a leak saying you were fired from the festival for unprofessional behavior. Counter with documents? Jungkook asks. Not yet, Han says. Let them lie first. Then we drop receipts. It's more effective than pre-defending. Yoongi nods. Also, stop apologizing for surviving. Make the loss expensive for them, not traumatic for you. Then we announce our own show, Taehyung says. Small venue, no VIP tiers. Live stream free with a donation link for digital literacy and anti-deepfake work. We take the narrative and make it useful. I'll call my cousin, Jimin says automatically. He knows a place that fits 800 and feels like community. Jungkook breathes like he's measuring resolve. If we do this, we do it loud but clean. No subtweets, no shadowboxing. We say what we're for, not what we're against. Han's phone vibrates. She checks, then looks up. Board meeting moved to tonight. They're drafting a statement without you. About us? Taehyung asks. About brand values and appropriate boundaries, Han answers. If they post it, it reads like disavowal. Call it off, Jimin says flatly. I don't own the board, Han replies. I can delay by throwing a compliance question that requires a memo. That buys an hour. After that, I need ammunition. Give them a better statement, Jungkook says. One that makes them look like adults. Offer them dignity so they don't reach for control. Yoongi leans forward. Write a draft for them. Don't beg. Set terms. We support our artists' autonomy and stand against misinformation. We'll partner with experts to fight deepfakes. We celebrate healthy boundaries and consent in all relationships. If they reject that, post your plan anyway and the contrast will embarrass them. Taehyung is already typing. I hate that I'm good at this. It's only manipulation if you lie, Jimin says. We're giving them the best version of themselves. Free. Han forwards the draft to the corporate chat with a comment that reads like a dare. Sign this and we all win. Jungkook's phone bings with a different kind of alarm. The queue. A starts in 30. Ground rules, Taehyung says. We take the hardest questions first. We thank the reasonable critics. We do not debate trolls. We repeat ourselves without getting louder. We never promise what we can't deliver. Add one, Jimin says. We name our own lines. I won't answer questions about bodies, bedrooms, or anyone's private family. If we say it out loud, fans will enforce it. Good, Eunji says. I'll moderate. If I cut a question, trust me. They go live from a plain room that could belong to anyone. The chat scrolls like a river trying to decide between flood and flow. Jimin reads the first question because he is the most likely to make a hard thing feel human. Question. Did you lie to us? Jungkook doesn't blink. I was private. Sometimes that looked like lying. I'm sorry for the parts where I let fear make me condescend to you. I won't do that again. Question. Taehyung says, reading his screen. Are you exploiting this for attention? If we were, we'd be selling t-shirts, he answers. We're not. We're selling a standard. Believe the human in the room over the rumor in your feed. Question. What about the children who look up to you? Jimin reads, and the tone begs for a fight that he refuses to provide. We hope they'll learn how to tell the truth kindly and how to respect other people's truths. That's it. No syllabus, no agenda. Question. Are you still the band we loved? Jungkook reads, we're better, because we're not spending half our energy pretending to be less. The chat gets uglier and kinder in equal measure. A familiar troll account throws bait about sin and betrayal. They don't engage. A fan from a small town sends a message that shakes the room without breaking it. I told my sister today because you told us. She said she already knew. She made pancakes. Jimin reads it out loud, and they let it sit, not as content but as proof that honesty replicates. Half an hour in, the moderation filter catches a link. A new so-called exposé from the gossip agency. It claims to have audio of Jimin and Taehyung arguing about Jungkook. It's spliced from 3 different rehearsals. It sounds convincing enough to hurt. Kill the link, Yoongi says. We won't platform fraud. Name the tactic, Taehyung adds. Teach them how to spot it. Jungkook leans into the lens no one will describe. If you see content that makes you feel righteous and superior at the same time, breathe. Ask who profits if you share it. If we're wrong, you'll hear it from us. Not from a watermark that sells ads. A hand in the chat asks a different kind of question. What's the cost? Some stages, Taehyung answers. Some deals. Some people. Worth it. Is it fair to Jimin? One asks. Jimin handles it. I'm not collateral and I'm not a decoy. I'm a person who chooses his friends, that's all. They end the stream when it's still strong, not when it's sagging. They say goodbye without fanfare. The chat keeps humming like a machine that's learning new settings. They step back into the room that belongs to their real lives. Han's face says something changed without needing to perform the alarm. Board adopted our statement, word for word with 2 commas I hate. You got them to say autonomy, Jimin says, impressed in spite of himself. I got them to say the bare minimum, Han replies. Which is better than the alternative? Yoonji's laptop dings. She reads, then looks at them. The agency blinked. We threatened civil action with evidence of targeted defamation. They sent a settlement offer. Don't take it, Taehyung says immediately. We weren't going to, Yoonji responds. We want a consent decree that bars them from using your names or likenesses for 5 years and requires a public retraction pinned for 12 months. That's humiliating for them, Han notes. It's preventive, Yoonji says. Humiliation is just accurate branding. Jungkook's phone lights up with a name he didn't expect. An older mentor who taught him how to sing when he still thought singing would break him. Pick up, Taehyung says. He does. The voice on the other end is warm and tired. I lost a sponsor the day I came out, the mentor says without preamble. I gained sleep. I read your letter. It didn't pander. It didn't posture. Keep it that way. How did you handle the puke when it came? Jungkook asks. I didn't ingest it, the mentor says. I made art. I ate soup. I turned off my phone more than I thought possible. Courage isn't a broadcast. It's a habit. Thank you, Jungkook says, and means it. They hang up. The room relaxes by degrees. Then the door opens and Min stands there with a folder that looks heavier than paper. I have the names, he says. Not just the agency, the middlemen, the burner accounts, the discords they seed first. I trace the metadata. I can make a map. Why are you giving us this? Jimin asks. Because you helped my mother without putting a camera on it, Min says. Because I remembered why I loved sound before I started selling Echo. And because I owe you. Eunji takes the folder like she knows exactly where it belongs. We'll give it to an investigator who isn't on anyone's payroll, she says. We don't torch the internet. We fix our corner. Min nods, relieved. I'm recording after this. For you. Free, if you want. Taehyung surprises him. Yes, tonight. A song we wrote when we thought Paper Tiger was just a test phrase. Now it's a thesis. Jungkook looks at him. We're releasing Paper Tiger today? We're releasing a demo tonight, Taehyung clarifies. Raw, no promo. Add a donation link. Let the music do what statements can't. They move as if the idea made gravity lighter. Min routes cables. Jimin positions lyrics like a checklist he trusts. Taehyung edits lines that once tried to be polite and now want to be true. Jungkook warms up the part of his voice he keeps for confessions. They record in one take and another because imperfection is a kind of credibility. The hook isn't catchy so much as inevitable. I won't let your paper tiger teach me how to be afraid. They listen once, not to admire, but to confirm it says what it needs to. Upload, Jimin says. Upload with a note, Taehyung adds. 2 sentences. This isn't a rollout. This is a boundary. If you can, donate to the people building tools that keep our voices ours. They post. Within minutes, 1 million ears arrive. Not a metaphor. Not a statistic that flatters. An actual surge of human attention that feels different because it's earned. Comments read like letters. Some disagree kindly and go away. Some disagree cruelly and get bored when no one bites. Some say thank you in accents you can hear on the page. Han reappears with a kind of news that fits this new world. 3 sponsors withdrew. 2 new ones offered. The new ones are smaller and less shiny. They also said, no content approvals ever. I recommend we take the ones that speak our language. We speak human, Taehyung says. Do they? They sell sneakers made by people who get dental. Han answers, it's not utopia, it's better. Take them, Jungkook says. We'll lose less sleep. Yoonji closes her laptop. I'm invoking my authority to prescribe mandatory rest, she says. Phones off for 3 hours. Anyone who breaks the rule buys dinner for the whole team. I'll break it, Jimin says immediately. But I'll order good food. No, Taehyung says, and it's not a scold. We rest together to remember what this is for. They lay low, no symbolic ritual, just the quiet discipline of not performing being okay. When the break ends, Jungkook's phone holds a message he didn't know he'd get. His mother sent a picture of 2 bowls on a table with a caption that reads, for next time. He shows it to Taehyung, who nods like a person who understands that ordinary is the opposite of cheap. Jimin sends a photo of the donation totals. Enough to fund a small grant for software that can tag deepfakes automatically. It's a number that reads like a plan, not a brag. Night pulls the city across their windows like a curtain no one asked for. They stay anyway, because staying is the point. Han calls once more with something that isn't a crisis. For once. I'm stepping down, she says. Not because of you, because I stayed too long in a room that rewarded my worst instincts. I recommended your new manager. Don't trust him easily. Make him earn it. He's good, but not magic. You could stay and change it, Jimin says. Even though he knows that's a myth we tell the noble to keep them in cages. I already changed it, Han replies. I kept you alive during the pivot. I'll do more good on the outside. Also, I want to sleep. Thank you, Taehyung says. For the commas you hate and the hours you bought. Don't write me into your songs as a villain, Han says. Or a savior. Write me as a lesson. Deal, Jungkook says. They hang up. The room breathes. I have a selfish question, Jungkook says, turning to Taehyung. If we get married someday, would you want to do it legally where it counts? Or quietly where it feels like ours? Jimin coughs into his sleeve without moving. I can leave. Stay, Taehyung says. This isn't a spectacle. He thinks without hurrying. Legally, when it's safe. Quietly, when it's right. I want the paper that says the hospital lets me in without a fight. I want the moment that says I didn't pick you because the camera was on. Jungkook's breath doesn't hitch. It steadies. Then we aim for both, in that order, and we don't make it content. Never, Taehyung says. Jimin claps once, not to break tension, but to mark it. I will plan a party that no one will Instagram because the cake will be too good to photograph. Jungkook laughs. Not because it's funny, because it's true enough to lift the day an inch higher. He texts his father a dot. His father answers with a thumbs up and a question mark, which is their code for, are you safe? He sends back 11. Min pops his head in. People are sending me job offers because they know I made your demo. I didn't tell them. I'm still paying you back. But I wanted to say thank you for not making me a prop in your redemption story. We don't collect trophies made of people, Jimin says. Min looks like a person who might go home and sleep for real. Good. See you tomorrow. Yoonji gathers her things, then pauses. Before I go, when the next hit comes and it will don't perform your resilience, just do it. The crowd doesn't need to see you holding the weights. They'll hear it in the music. Noted, Taehyung says. And thank you for being a grown-up when the room wanted a hero. I bill by the hour for adulthood, she says dryly. But the first thank you is free. After everyone disperses, Jungkook and Taehyung sit with the day, like it's a person who deserves a name. They don't debrief for sport. They ask the questions that matter. What hurt you today? Taehyung asks. The deepfake, Jungkook says. Not the content. The feeling of being puppeted. I hate that I live in a world where my voice can be stolen. What helped? Taehyung asks. You telling me to write instead of smash, Jungkook says. And your father's call, he adds, surprising himself. I didn't know I wanted that until it arrived. It made the floor sturdier. What about you? Jungkook asks back. Letting go of that festival, Taehyung says. I thought walking away would make me feel small. It made me feel like a person who gets to decide. And what scared you? The marriage question, Taehyung admits. Not because of the idea. Because I realized I want a future big enough to hold boring things like taxes and fights about curtains. Wanting is terrifying when you've trained yourself to be grateful for scraps. Jungkook doesn't rush to fix it. We can want without demanding. We can build without broadcasting. I know, Taehyung says. I'm learning. We're learning, Jungkook corrects. They pack up with no ceremony. On the way out, Jimin sends a last message to the group chat. Show in 3 days. Same rules. No VIP. Donations open. Come ready to listen, not to gawk. The replies stack. Friends, crew, a couple of artists who say, we'll play for free, pay the staff instead. The board's official statement lands, clunky but acceptable. The festival posts a bland line about scheduling conflicts, and Han texts a screenshot of the signed release. The agency quietly unpins its smear and pins a clarification. It reads like shame translated into compliance. They go home the way people go home when they're allowed to be people. Jungkook sends a dot. Taehyung replies, 11. Jimin sends 13 Jeon pancakes. 2. Jungkook texts without thinking. 3. Taehyung answers. 5. Jimin adds. And then the word that has become both instruction and blessing. Rest.